Alabama with a big weekend in the portal, the college football playoff, a disaster. Bama basketball continues to roll. We're going to get into all of that right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Hopefully you're having a great holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Let's get this party started. And I'm going to start it by saying this. Roll Tide, everybody. All right, there he is, the Catfish himself, Mr. Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillespie. You guys already know what I thought about the college football playoff. Although I got to tell you, Tennessee, God, you guys, I thought that you guys, because your fans talk so much crap, that you were going to actually show up and play. And I saw Josh Heupel apologizing to you because you guys spent all that money on those tickets. You can say whatever you want about us. We have never gone into a game that mattered and looked like that. God, you embarrassed SEC. But the rest of look, it's not like you're going, hey, this was a great weekend of college football. It was terrible all the way around. The seeding was bad. The matchups were bad. The games were bad. Embarrassing. Fire the committee, Chad.
Yeah. Okay. First, like you said, hats off to Tennessee fans. Okay. Like, you guys talked more trash for a full on 2 weeks. I mean, we're talking about, we're going to checkerboard the shoe. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Mick, I had text messages from Tennessee fans. They're friends of mine up here who said, hey, can you give me some tips on the Rose Bowl? Dude, they were already booking for Pasadena. They were already looking at Oregon. Hey, can you tell me, what'd you do for the Rose Bowl last year? Where do you stay? How do you, what's the best situation? What do you go do for fun while you're there? All these tips and everything. That's one of the biggest eggs I've seen laid in a primetime game from a team that talked as much as they did. Like, it was insane, Mick. Like, the fans, the players, Josh Heupel, I mean, like, just all of it. Where's the meme right now of Josh Heupel in the microphone about the officials?
Right.
Where's that meme right now?
Yeah.
Like, you just got your ass spanked.
Hey,
that's what happened, man.
You guys didn't wear your shirts for the pregame.
Yeah, you showed them, man.
You scared everybody, didn't you?
They did. Now, you know what? I will say this. Props to Vol Nation for showing up.
No, they're great fans, man.
They did show up. That was impressive how much orange was in the shoe.
I know.
But that was all that was impressive.
Yeah. I know, man. And honestly, I was pulling for them too. Cause I wanted the
I actually was.
You sent me a message. You're like, man, I'm pulling for Tennessee. I was like, I am too. And then you guys you get boat raced right out of there. You're not ready for the big table. You're going back. A lot of us know what this means. Holidays, you don't have enough room on the big table. You got the kids table. You're back on the kids table now. Don't come at me, because if Bama would have gotten their just dues and they would have been in this playoff, nobody would have beaten them like that. They might have lost, but they wouldn't have got blown out like that. But the entire field stunk. The seating stunk. SMU didn't belong in. Clemson didn't belong in. Like, if Clemson was your best game, they never had a chance. Indiana didn't belong in. It was just such a disaster, right?
Well,
and Ole Miss and Alabama and South Carolina, all better than these teams.
Here's my whole thing. Like, I could probably go 30 minutes straight without breathing on this one. I'm not, but I could.
Right.
Is that we as college football fans, okay, we have to take a step back and go, what do we want the sport to be like? And here's what I mean by that. Before, we just relied on the AP and the USA Today coaches poll and maybe the Harris poll and a few other obscure polls, and especially if you keep going back in time, to determine the national champion. Then it was, we need the best two teams to play each other for a true national championship. That was the BCS. Then it was, we don't like the BCS. because basically Alabama got in there against LSU again for a rematch. And so he said, all right, we got to change it. So you go to 4 teams. And you complain about 4 teams because we got 5 conferences back then. Now I want to go to 12 teams. Well, then everybody starts complaining about the blowouts. So
Right.
I got a few questions on this. Is it, one, would you rather see SMU play Penn State in a meaningful round of 12 game? Or would you rather see SMU play somebody else, just say Texas Tech, and the Cheez-It Bowl, and then see Penn State play Washington State in the Holiday Bowl? And neither one of them matter other than pride, but those are the games we get. Or would you rather see SMU play Penn State in Happy Valley on a college campus in a playoff first round? I would rather see more games that mean something, even if it's a blowout. At least I was geeked up for the weekend. Like, hey, December 21st, this weekend matters. It's not the Las Vegas Bowl weekend, okay?
Did you think that it was going to be like this, though? Like, we were so excited. Like, this playoff.
I'd still rather have that. So here's the second piece to this, okay? This sport is becoming more and more like the NFL.
Right.
We're paying players. We have the NIL. Coaches rotate every 2 years. We got people transferring. We got the portal. We got all these things. It's all about money now. It has been, but it's even more obvious now, okay? So here's the thing. You got to come up with a league or a system or something that makes it fair, because there are 2 sides to this coin. One, look, I'm looking right now. These are the NFL first round matchups in the playoffs last year, okay? These are the final scores, Mick. 32-9, 48-32, 24-23, 26-7, 31-17, 45-14.
Right. So most of them were blowout.
One game was inside of double digits.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, you're just getting really great teams against average teams. It's
right.
The same thing happens in the NFL. You go to the second round, 31-23, 24-21, 27-24, 34-10. 3 games are 1 possession. 1 game is not. Now, I think the way that the seeding is set up right now, there's no reason Boise and ASU should be getting buys. So I think this week, or I'm sorry, in 10 days, you're going to see blowouts again. I think that. However,
you're going to get them. It's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, but if you seeded correctly, the second round, you would not see blowouts.
Right. Like those teams should have never been getting buys. Yeah, I agree, man.
The first round is just can Cinderella emerge somewhere?
Right.
That's it.
Well, play the 2 Cinderellas if you really want to have, but don't put the 2 Cinderellas as buys,
Correct. 100% right.
And you can't look at the schedules, and people can say what they want to say about Bama losing to Oklahoma, and I get it, but it's not the same system anymore. Like they still beat Georgia. They still beat South Carolina. They still won at LSU. They still beat Missouri. They still have way more quality wins than 5 teams that, okay, well, we won 11-1, but you didn't play anybody.
Correct. And that's the biggest problem, is that the schedules are unbalanced.
Yeah.
So the NFL, I know what some of you are saying. The NFL, you also have bad teams that get in. Like, you have a 9-8 team.
Right.
That gets into the playoffs, right? But that's why you have wild cards. That's why you have all these other things. But they have an actual system in place that has balanced scheduling that creates parity. If you don't know what the NFL schedule is, you should read up on how they schedule their seasons.
Right.
The way they do it, just quickly, is if you're in the NFC, okay, let's just take the NFC South, because that's the Falcons and the Saints, and I'm assuming a lot of Bama fans have some sort of an allegiance probably to one of those two teams, maybe the Titans, but they suck. So let's just go with like the NFC South. So if you win the NFC South, okay, you play the other division winners in your conference the following year. If you finish last, you play the other teams that finished last.
Right.
Then you go and you get lined up against other divisions. and one of them is from the AFC, one of them is from the NFC, and you play all the teams in that division. And then it rotates each year. You move down the list. So you're always playing different division, different teams, but you're also playing teams that are your caliber. If you finish first, you play first place teams.
Right.
They've got to come up with something like that inside of these mega conferences where Indiana finished tied for second in the Big Ten this year. I think officially after the tiebreakers, they finished fourth in the Big Ten. But that means Indiana's got to play some like top tier teams next year. Like you got to figure out how to balance that out.
Yeah, you can't have another weak schedule for them.
No, like look at
Where's their Oregon game? Where's their Ohio State game? Right.
They only played one of those. That was it. And that was Ohio State. They didn't play Oregon.
Penn State on the schedule. How do you get through with not playing them?
And that's it, because it's the mega conference. So you got to figure out how you're going to break that up and make it more consistent. If you want to go, and I'm actually for a couple of solutions. One is balance everything out or leave it up to the conferences. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And just say like, look, SEC, Big Ten, you're getting 4 bids. And we can say that because those 2 conferences are clearly better than the Big 12 and the ACC. Like you're automatically getting 4 bids, both of you. Expand it to 16 to 14, whatever. But the Big 10 and the SEC auto get 4. Doesn't cap them at 4, but they auto get 4. Another thing I'd like to see is abolish the committee.
Oh, yeah.
We're sitting here, like you watch those people watch games, and like I can't even imagine like some of them trying to actually talk ball. Like, I sit there and watch it. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me, some of these people. and the way you do that is to dilute it. Right. And what I mean by that is the BCS formula. I actually liked it. We just didn't like that there were 2 teams. We wanted more teams.
Right.
Well, the BCS is made up of, it was what, Sagarin, the computer, Harris, AP or coaches, one of the 2. I think the coaches poll. Like, do the BCS formula to get your 12 teams. And the reason that would work is because one person's opinion isn't going to wreck the system. 2 people's opinions aren't going to wreck the system if you're using 3, 4, 5 different computers or polls or human sets. Like the AP poll has what, 61, 62, something like that votes. The coaches poll somewhere in that same vicinity. When you do that, 1 or 2 votes isn't messing up the whole system. So do with that what you will, but there are just so many other ways we are so stuck in this old mindset of, oh, well, they have 1 loss, they have 2 losses, they have 2 losses, they have 3 losses. We can't rank somebody ahead of the other. They have 1 loss, and we get fixated on who you lost to. That's been the biggest argument. But we don't have the same conviction about who you beat. Like, that's the other problem. Like, maybe Indiana didn't have a horrible loss this year. Maybe SMU didn't have a horrible loss all year. But the 3 teams that SMU played that were ranked, they lost to all 3 of them?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it wasn't even close, dude. And to hear the dummies sit there and try to tell you that, well, how many wins and losses did you have? Look, if Bama played that schedule, they would have went undefeated. They're not losing to BYU. They're not losing to Clemson.
Nope.
So come on, man. And they probably would have beat Penn State too. They would have been a favorite. Like it'd have been a much better game. But you know what? We got all these, the charity, I call it charity trophy people. They want to give the charity trophies out because, they're 11-1. They're 11-2. They only lost the conference championship game. They didn't beat 1 team. Indiana didn't beat anybody. SMU didn't beat anybody. Clemson didn't beat anybody. And all of them got beat. Like they weren't even close. The team
went 0-3 against the SEC.
I know, and they got run off the field against Georgia. Bama beat them. They lost at home to South Carolina. Bama beat them too. Come on, man. Like there was nothing about them that deserved to be in any kind of playoff. Like automatic bids because you're the ACC conference. Look, the ACC is not a good conference anymore. And the fact that we signed on to this bothers me because
that's a Greg Byrne issue.
Well, us and South Carolina and Ole Miss are better than those three teams. And they would have been exciting, fun games. And I saw Lane Kiffin, and I'm not a big Lane Kiffin guy, but I love controlling the hell out of him because he's funny. Right. Yeah, I mean, he's been exactly right. Like, even losing at Florida was actually pretty good at the end of the year. I mean, they destroyed Tulane. They got better as the season went on. Yeah, they were pretty good. The whole thing's disappointing. And then I look at the matchups for next round, and I'm like, they're crappy too. Like, it's not like you're looking at it like ASU is going to be next round's, ass whooping. So same thing with Boise.
That's my other problem is that if Bama had been an SMU slot, Bama would have Penn State and Boise State to get to the semifinals. Like, it's hard to beat that draw in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
But the people who are arguing about the records, like, quit. You guys, you hone in on one game with Oklahoma. That's what you hone in on. But you refuse to acknowledge any of the wins or lack thereof, depending on who you're talking about.
Right. Hate it.
But the thing is, you've got to get to a point with this where you eliminate the committee.
Yep.
And maybe Bama has benefited from the committee in years past, and that's fine. But you've got to get away from the committee. And those of you saying, oh, well, you're just saying that because Bama got left out. No, I'm saying the BCS formula would have worked the entire time. Bama would have gotten in every time with the BCS formula.
Dude, they made an exception. Bama was ranked ahead of them in both polls, and they made it happen to get SMU in because it was political. And they and part of it was that Bama got in over Florida State last year. So I get it. You know what? But you got exactly what you deserved. You got a shitty first round. And I'm sorry for the language. I know some of you are going to get on me for saying it, but I had to say it. All right. Good news this weekend, Chad, is that we killed it in the transfer portal. We got 3 commitments this weekend. Yeah. And, we kind of covered that yesterday, but Kam Dewberry, offensive lineman from Texas A&M, got him. Isaiah Horton from Miami, wide receiver. We knew that he was coming. Yeah. We knew that he was coming. He wanted to come. And then Nikhai Hill-Green, who is a linebacker that spent most of his time at Michigan, but then went to Colorado. Whatever happened there. He's a good player there. Now he's coming to Bama. So three big commitments, man. O-line needs some help there. Wide receiver needs some help there. Linebacker needs some help there. So positions in need, but it also shows you that this is where Kalen DeBoer normally does pretty well.
Yeah, and I think anybody who is freaking out over the portal and the people leaving, now you got to take a step back and just realize this is life. Yeah. Like, this is life in college football until they fix it. And I'll tell you this, they're going to fix it fast. I told you this, Mick, the other day because we were complaining about the portal and just the NIL, and Bama doesn't have money. And I kind of cringed over Greg Byrne's plea to the fan base about getting some people in and getting some subscriptions and getting some gear sold and donations and whatever the case is. This is all going to stop soon. This is a very short window, and if I was a college athlete, I would try to max it out as well because it's not going to continue. And what I mean is they're going to have to put a commissioner in place. They're going to have to put rules around this. They're going to have to put out contracts. You're going to have buyouts. You're going to have all these kinds of things, maybe salary caps or NIL caps. Like, all these things are going to come, and I think they're going to come fast. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all of this is in place before the 2026 season. That's when I've targeted, because this playoff setup has a 2-year window, 24 and 25. So 26 is going to be expanded. It's not official. It'll happen. 14 teams at least, maybe 16. Once that happens, another big thorn in everyone's side is all this NIL talk and people being tampered with, other coaches trying to swoop in. All these things are going to take place. And so I think they're going to have a commissioner, and they're going to have a lot of rules around it. And the biggest thing they're going to have to do with the commissioner is figure out a way to really come down hard on universities that don't play by the rules, because the NFL does that. They hammer you if you get outside the rules. They're going to have to do that in the NCAA, because otherwise you're just going to go back. Like if you have salary caps, you're just going to go back to tampering, and you're going to go back to universities paying players under the table, which puts them over the cap. You're going to have all that stuff.
Right.
But I think you're going to see it. I think commissioners or a commissioner, playoff expansion, and all this portal stuff and NIL stuff, it's going to look completely different in a year or two. But Bama had a huge week, which they needed after losing some guys the previous days.
Yeah, losing some guys and Byrne coming out and saying what he said and everything else. Yeah, it was a tough week, but I'm glad Mbakwe returned, and then we'll see what happens. But support the Yale Alabama collective if you can do it. I know a lot of you guys are going, man, I'm not doing that. Like that's a lot of money that I don't really have right now. But but some of you guys can do it, and I'm actually going to buy some gear off of there. So I'm going to wear it on these shows. I'm going to support it right after the holidays when I see what kind of coin I got left after I take care of everybody on the list. Final thing I want to get into, Catfish, before we bail on today's show is Catfish is, of course, the host of Courtside with Catfish, or Catfish Courtside, however you want to say it, man. This guy covers hoops for us on the day-to-day basis on the channel. And Bama, one more non-conference game, put a beat down on Kent State. That is Nick Saban's alma mater. This team, dude, like the SEC is stacked, man. We got more top 10 teams at this point than I think I ever remember. And Bama rolled, and here we go. One more, South Dakota State. But I like the way these guys look.
Yeah. State, Bama didn't even look good and still blew them out, which is always nice. That's perfect if you're a coach, right? To not play to your potential and still win big. So that way you can always come back and say, hey, man, like, great, we won, but we got so many things we can get better at. They got to shoot better, and they got to protect the ball a little better. They turn it over too much right now. They're still not knocking down threes at the clip that they could or should with all the talent that they have. But, we talked about this. This team is so good. But part of the problem, if you want to call this a problem, is the SEC is insane this year. Like really insane. Bama's 10-2. Beat South Dakota State on Sunday, going to be 11-2. Start SEC play. Well, 4 of your first 5 SEC games are against teams ranked in the top 17 as of the most recent poll. Then take another look at the SEC. The SEC's worst record, the team with the worst record in the SEC, South Carolina at 9-3. 9-3. And we've seen SEC teams. We've seen Oklahoma play Michigan. They're ranked. We've seen Tennessee playing top teams. We've seen Kentucky playing top teams. They beat Duke to start the year. We've seen Auburn beat Iowa State, North Carolina, Purdue. They seem to beat everybody. Seen Alabama beat a lot of good teams. Their only loss is on the road at Purdue and to Oregon, who's a top 10 or 15 team. So it's insane how good and how deep the SEC is. So we've had a lot of fun. We cover all the games. We do a breakdown the following day of the game the night before or the day before. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we're going to be breaking down bracketology that comes out for you, taking a look at the new polls. And this team's really good, but so is the SEC. And it's going to be a fight starting in about 2 weeks, but it's going to be fun, Mick. It's going to be a great season.
I'm excited about it. And then there he is, ChadwickAnderson.com. And that is the place. Look, got me in this studio, man. I mean, got me in my home. This guy right here, I'm not just saying it because he's my buddy. I'm saying it because he does a great job with the mortgages, and he'll get you home, man. Like I'm trying to round third and get home. You got me there.
So if you're a buyer or someone who owns a home now, first, if you're a buyer, scan the code. QR is on the screen. See if you qualify for a 0 down mortgage. That we got a couple of programs. It's a big deal. Scan the QR code and check that out. If you already own a home, We do home equity lines of credit where money is in your pocket in 5 days. Not even kidding. 5 days, it's in your pocket. We're refinancing. We're helping families save money. They're consolidating debt. On average, saving $500-600 a month. It's crazy. And then also, too, for our real estate agents and friends, if you're a realtor, you need to reach out to us because we have helped realtors save over $150,000 in commission in the last 60 days. 150 grand we've saved realtor commissions in the last 60 days. So hit me up. All the info's there on the screen, chadwickanderson.com. Would love to chat if you need something or need some advice, some direction, whatever.
There he is. All right, guys, brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi. Still time to get your tickets to Hinder Tonic and Fuel, celebrating 90s rock over at the Silver Star Convention Center in Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's going to be great. December 28th, 7 o'clock concert. Take advantage of the fact that those guys are all together one night, one stage. Going to be fantastic. So do that. And as you get this, you get your holidays going and you're going, hey, man, what do I get? What do I get my dad? You know, what he's got everything. Maybe he doesn't have those Daniel Moore prints. Maybe you want to make your son's room look fantastic. People want that. They want the kids come over and they're like, man, isn't that Ryan Williams? Oh, yeah. It's the game against Georgia. Maybe it's the Gravedigger play. Maybe it's some of the classics that I have over here, including my broadcast partner, not you, Catfish, but Jake Coker on the Sweet 16 print. All of that, newlifeart.com. Daniel Moore. Use the promo code Bama Tailgate and get 20% off. But you got to put that in at the very end when you're like signing out, you know, where it says code, put the promo code in, Bama Tailgate, 20% off. And we appreciate you guys taking advantage of that and have a great holiday. But we'll be back tomorrow. I told him this, man, back in college, you know this, I worked all the holidays. You know, I was at Boo Radley's. I was slinging beer on the holidays. I'm going to sling Bama talk through the holidays as well. And Kat, I hope you'll take the time to join me again, brother.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out, and roll tide, everybody.
Resort.